everybody, this is Diane. Welcome to Biters.
And this is Marnell, and I feel like we just did this.
I work better with a 5 out of 10 buzz.
Don't we all?
I was thinking 10 out of 10 buzz, but...
I know. I'm like, 5 out of 10 is what I wake up with.
Right, Sarah's shooting low, man.
Oh,
and you
man.
are hearing ice clink in a glass, but it's just juice.
Sure,
it's still hot here.
Yeah, it's cooling down here, thankfully.
Yeah, it is here too. All right.
So we are podcasting season 5, episode 6, The Little Prince.
Yes.
And we're on time this week.
What was that?
We're on time this week.
And I will actually probably get it posted tonight.
Because you have the power now.
I do. I have the power. Also the responsibility.
Well, and the know-how.
Well, it's not that hard. Rob wrote some pretty specific instructions. So we're a little early for numbers on the series, but we've got our own personal ratings.
So, this verse, same as the first verse. I rated it a 3.95 Marnell-sized beers. So, no better, no worse than last episode, but I like my rating better.
You know, the thing is I thought that I liked it better than last episode, but I gave it 4 pieces of Jerky Man Jerky out of 5. So it was kind of a solid B for me. I felt like I liked it better the first time around, which is different than the way the episodes have been for me this season. And I do feel like overall, as I was saying to you before we signed in, I felt like they managed the balance of the plot better. They managed multiple storylines better than they have in previous episodes this season.
And I did say that we did get all the characters.
Yeah, I think the only people that we didn't see were Matt Brewer's character, Isabel, because she's gone, and then Salazar because he's gone.
Yeah.
So they really did do pretty good justice showing us everybody.
Yeah, and that was that's why I had a hard time rating the episode low, is because it was all around good interactions with everybody, but there was a lot to be bothered by this episode.
Oh, yeah. I mean, like I said, I really liked it the first time around, and then the second time around I was doing more notes, and I was like, ooh, I'm being a little harsher than I thought I was going to be. So, yeah.
Well, and harsh was the name of the game for the other rest of the reviews.
This episode, it has generally not been well received. It's from the things that I've watched and read and listened to.
No, I think a lot of people are pretty much just hate watching at this point.
Well, so the numbers that we do have, it's a 7. This episode itself is a 7.6 on IMDb right now, but it's a 36% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Eee.
As compared to like 94% for the season premiere.
Yikes.
Yeah, it's pretty big.
Yeah, I think I remember, I think it was Den of Geek. It was like 1.5 stars.
For this episode?
Yeah.
Yeah, ouch.
Ouch. Big time.
And again, you know, there were some things to really like about this episode, but there were some problems.
Mm-hmm. We will get into that.
We will. So The Little Prince, which was the title.
Right.
I have to tell you, I went back and I read the book, The Little Prince, because I thought, what are they doing here?
Okay, so when I don't know if I was watching this episode or rewatching last episode or what, but the Little Prince crashed in the desert. That is not what I remember about The Little Prince.
So actually the pilot crashed in the desert.
Okay.
And then met the Little Prince when he was starting to try to do repairs on his plane. He had like 8 days of water, so he didn't have very much time to repair his plane. And he ends up meeting the Little Prince, who basically fell down from the sky from the asteroid that he lived on.
Yeah.
And they ended up having all of these deep philosophical discussions, which basically boil down to children are really innocent and can see things really clearly, and adults suck. I have to say that I liked the book better in French than I did in English, and maybe it's because my French skills were not as good as I thought they were when I read it. So, spoiler alert, the little prince dies.
Ah, the French.
So, but what are they doing here with this title and with using the Little Prince so heavily in this season? I mean, I feel like they're telegraphing the death of one of the kids.
It's gotta be
Dylan.
Dylan, yeah.
I really feel like they're telegraphing Dylan's death.
They're gonna rip Luciana's heart out with that one.
Well, or are they telegraphing Luciana's death?
Oh, I was noticing one of the things I did like about this episode is I was like, she's still injured. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's not just that whole, she's like mortally wounded one episode and like 2 episodes later, she's like got a scratch.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I don't know what they're doing. The other thing is, are they telling us that our adults are misled and mistaken?
Well, I think they are.
There are a lot of fans and critics who are saying that the whole premise that our gang is going forward with, this whole "we're here to help," is mistaken.
And we got some more Morgan speeches this episode, which everybody loves.
Everybody gave a speech this episode.
Yeah, that's true.
There was a lot of speechifying going on this episode.
Oh, some good, some bad. Like, I was okay with Alicia's. I loved the talk between Al and June.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not totally okay with the Dwight John thing.
Oh, we'll get into that.
Uh-huh. And yeah, the people are pretty sick of the Morgan thing. Like, a lot of people are like, oh, why is he even on this show now?
Which just freaking breaks my heart, because Morgan is one of the first characters that I fell in love with way back in season 1 of Walking Dead.
Yes.
And we all wanted Morgan to come back so badly.
Yeah. And, he was, we were on the rise with Madison dying for...
Although, interestingly enough, there are a lot of people who feel like that was a big mistake.
I know.
I know we don't. I know Thomas O'Mara doesn't. But there are a lot of people who feel like that was a big mistake.
Yeah, like the Forbes guy.
Yes. Yes.
But yeah, I'm really kind of wanting Morgan to go back to his old self and go back to Walking Dead Prime. And, I don't think this show's been a good influence on him.
Maybe he'll get captured by the CRN people.
One can hope.
All right, so back to The Little Prince, though. So I did a deep dive into the book, but I didn't feel like I totally got what the writers of Fear are trying to do. I mean, are they just using the, hey, we crashed our plane and we need to fix it plotline from The Little Prince?
Yeah, and kind of trying, Dylan, I think, will be the one that'll, like, bring the group of kids in, with his sister and brother and be like, hey, these adults are okay. And then something horribly tragic will happen, as does with everybody who meets our group.
And we know how well children fare.
Right? So, yeah, beyond the obvious Dylan quoting the book about the plane.
Right, taking his glasses off and looking with his heart.
Right. I don't see anything beyond as far as the name goes.
Well, I would definitely like to hear from any of our listeners that have read The Little Prince and might have some other ideas, because I was really struggling.
And you don't have to read it in French. You can't.
I read it in English this time, I promise. My French is not that good anymore.
And like I said, you can watch the series that is dubbed in English on YouTube. That is how I learned about The Little Prince on Nickelodeon.
Well, one other thing before we leave the title is that there are characters that the Little Prince talks about meeting on different planets before he comes to Earth, who generally are like really flawed characters who are obsessed with power and possessions. And I'm kind of wondering, are they pointing at, say, Logan as one of those characters?
Maybe.
Are they pointing at, that used to be Strand's personality? I mean, I don't know. I'm really reaching, really trying to make it fit.
Yeah.
But that's what I had about the title.
Yeah, I really didn't have much beyond Dylan's quotes.
Yeah. I mean, I do think he's the Little Prince, so it'll be interesting to see how that evolves.
Yeah.
They're certainly setting it up that way.
Well, we know how it'll end.
Right?
We're terrible.
We are terrible. That's why people listen to us. All right, so our writer was a woman named Mallory Westfall, and she has been an executive story editor on 6 episodes of Fear, including this one, but this is the first one that she is credited with having written.
Right. Like written.
So she's got like 4 other writing credits. She has written for a TV series called Channel Zero, which is an anthology series.
Right.
She wrote a short called Gundersons. And then she wrote, I think it's a movie, but it's only 45 minutes long. It's called Argyle. And I actually thought that sounded the most up our alley. So the plot description is an aspiring filmmaker gets an offer from an essentially kind of one-off but esteemed filmmaker from his town to go back to his hometown and investigate the local serial killer.
Oh my goodness.
Right?
Where can I watch this?
I didn't look. I didn't dive that deep.
It gets a 9.2 on IMDb. Granted, it's only got 6 ratings, but 6 people really liked this.
Did you figure out where you can watch it?
I don't see it. Yeah, usually if you can like watch it on, I'll bet I could watch it on IMDb Pro. Oh, let's see. Maybe Prime Video? HBO?
Ah.
Start streaming HBO's addictive dramas, hilarious comedies, and hit movies. Prime Video channels. So I probably have to pay for the HBO part of Prime Video, maybe?
Well, or the other thing is you can just buy individual episodes on iTunes if you really want to watch it.
If it's on iTunes.
If it's on iTunes.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought the whole serial killer angle was right up our alley.
Definitely.
So our director we have talked about in the past, his name is Sharat Raju. I hope I'm saying that right. And you pointed out to me that he directed one other episode of Fear, which was the episode Blackjack.
Mm-hmm.
Which we really liked last season.
Yes, that was the episode with, what's the, Wendell. No, not Wendell. The trucker guy.
With Clayton.
Clayton, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that was the one where Luciana finds Clayton.
And it makes me think about the candy that John Dory saved. Because that was the name of the candy. It was Blackjack.
Oh, yeah. I completely forgot about that.
Yep. Sharat Raju has also directed an episode of Law & Order SVU. He's done a bunch of documentaries, including a documentary about a Supermax prison. Again, right up our alley. What else? He's worked on Criminal Minds, The Good Doctor, Designated Survivor, Once Upon a Time, which may be his crossover with the showrunners for this series.
Right.
And he also worked on Grimm, which I heard was really good, and I never actually got into it.
Okay, I got through like the first 3.5 seasons, and then I fell off right around the time I fell off with like The Flash and Supergirl and Arrow. I can't remember what started or what we started watching or like, I don't know what happened, but we fell off with all those shows. And like because the Flash and Arrow and everything all do crossovers, you have to keep up on all of them.
Right.
And so if you fall behind on one, it means you fall behind on like four. And then we fell off with Grimm and Gotham, and yeah, but Grimm is definitely very good. That was actually my very first book, was Grimm's Fairy Tales.
Really?
I still have it.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah, hardbound and everything. I've written my name in it like 20 times.
Like the original Grimm's Fairy Tales that have the really morbid endings, or
Yes,
the
like
sanitized version?
the ones where Cinderella's stepsisters cut off their toes and the heels of their feet.
Very cool.
Yes, which tells you so much about me now, right?
It doesn't tell me anything I didn't know, but it might tell our listeners something they haven't figured out yet.
Yes. Introduce your children to unabridged Grimm's Fairy Tales.
That's right. Those are the real stories.
Definitely. It prepares you for real life. I have to tell you, I was at the hairdresser today getting my gray streak actually dyed into my hair. So now I have a kind of a Rogue from X-Men thing going on.
Very cool.
I have to send you a picture. But the ladies were super impressed about my prison knowledge. We got on the subject because about the crime that's been going on in Juneau. But yeah, the documentary on the prison I kind of want to watch, but I feel like I already know so much.
That's so funny. Well, going from prison to children, do you want to talk about our featured cast member?
Sure. So, really, the only cast member we have not talked about is Dylan's brother, Max. And there is really, really not that much about him out there.
There's not.
No. So, he is 15 years old, and he is from Asheville, North Carolina.
But spends half of his time in LA.
Right. He has very few IMDb credits. He really just sort of broke out in 2017 with a TV series. I think it's on the Disney Channel, Henry Danger.
It was either Disney Channel or Nickelodeon. I can't remember which. I think Disney. I think you're right.
And then he was in a short, and he has one episode of Alex Inc., one episode of Scorpion, which is on CBS, and that was on my watch list. And it's just way, way down now on my watch list because I think it only lasted one season, maybe a season and a half. And now he is on, 5 episodes of Fear the Walking Dead. So this has really been his breakout sort of role, which is probably why there's not a lot out there, is because he's 15 and he hasn't been in much until now. He does have some theater acting credits. It looks like he was really active with the Asheville Community Theater in Asheville, North Carolina. It's kind of funny. His name is Ethan Seuss, and he was in 2 renditions of Seussical, the musical.
Oh, how funny.
He played Jojo, and he also played Horton. He was Aladdin in Aladdin, and The Wizard of Oz, he played the Scarecrow. And in Bye Bye Birdie, he was Conrad Birdie.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah. So I also watched a video on YouTube that he made. It's 8 minutes long. It's amazing.
Really?
Yes, I will have to post it to the Biters page. I have a note to post it when this episode goes up. The kid's got some definite chops when it comes to, I don't know what that would be, editing, cinematography. He's got a great eye.
Well, so it said on IMDb that his dream was to become a director. So that makes sense.
So his only social media profile is on Instagram. He is ethan.seuss on Instagram. But he also has a photography Instagram that's just for his photography. And it's at EOSPXS. I'm not even going to try and say that. I'm sure it stands for something. But like I said, the kid really has a great eye. So I'm kind of excited to see what he becomes, because just the YouTube video. That's all I got to say. I'm going to post it. I have a note to myself. It's amazing.
So
So,
I wanted to talk a little bit about what he has upcoming.
yeah.
There is a movie coming out that was directed by Ron Howard called Hillbilly
Hillbilly
Elegy.
LG.
And
Yep.
I have to tell you that this book kind of entered my consciousness when it first came out, and it kind of was on the list. And reading about it again, because I read about it with Ethan Seuss's involvement with it, has catapulted it back to the top of the list. It's next on my list, actually.
So the IMDb says a man recalls his life growing up in the Midwest with Appalachian values. What's
So the author is a guy named J.D. Vance, and it's actually autobiographical, and it's really a book about the disintegration of the culture of white working Americans. And the description that I read and on Amazon when I was looking at it and reloading it to my Kindle, it's set in Appalachia. He actually grew up in Kentucky. And he had a really traumatic childhood with a lot of abuse, poverty, alcoholism in the family. And it's really a book about that and kind of about the loss of the American dream for people who are in that socioeconomic situation.
okay?
So I just remember thinking when it came out, God, I've got to read that book. It got a lot of conversation in political circles. And now it's back at the top of my list again.
Well, there's so much rich culture in around the Appalachian mountains that there's been so much done, and I think we talked about it when we talked about an episode of Ride with Norman Reedus, because he did an episode in that area.
Oh, I don't remember that.
Yeah, it like the culture is just really rich, and there's been a ton of movies and television shows based around the area and the culture and the families and the lifestyle and everything. Yeah, so
Well, I will tell you, this is more of an American tragedy.
America is a tragedy.
And, not to take us too far off the path, but if people haven't read it, another book that I think is probably very similar that I would highly recommend is a book called The Glass Castle. Have you ever heard of that?
I haven't, no.
So it's written by a woman who becomes a reporter, and it's her true story growing up in impoverished Appalachia. And again, a lot of dysfunction, a lot of poverty, a lot of abuse. Her story is phenomenal. I can't recommend the book highly enough.
I think probably one of the last things that I watched was the television show The Outsiders with Ryan Hurst, who is Alpha on Walking Dead Prime. And that takes place in the area, and he comes from a family of moonshiners.
Oh.
And so, of course, it's highly fictionalized, but kind of based out of reality. But yeah. So, the Hillbilly, what was it called?
Elegy.
Will also have Glenn Close and Amy Adams.
Yeah, it's got a pretty big cast. And again, it's directed by Ron Howard. So
right.
I think it's going to be really good. But I definitely want to read the book. I'm just about finished with Voices of Chernobyl. So I'm going to read Hillbilly Elegy next because, wow, I really need a pick-me-up after Chernobyl.
Which an American tragedy about the Appalachian culture will be a huge pick-me-up after.
Yikes.
Yeah. So there's, like I said, there's really not much out there, but the kid has an amazing eye, and he's not a bad actor. So good things for him.
Yeah, I have to say, of the kids, probably, quite honestly, Max is my favorite, even though they're trying to carry off the kind of cheesy Little Prince storyline. I just think he's a very endearing little actor.
See, and I loved Annie. Like she's got the street smarts that I like. And like we were talking about when she was our featured cast member, how absolutely young she looks. We could not believe she's 21. But when she cleaned up this episode, I was like, I see it now.
Oh, really? I still thought she looked really young.
No, I could, like, with all the dirt on her face and all of her dreads out, I was like, I see it.
No, like, even her hands, when you look at her hands when she's washing up, they look like a little kid's hands. Yeah.
I didn't notice that. That's funny.
All right, speaking of Annie's, before we move on to Whisperer's Corner, I would just like to welcome Annie, our new foster dog.
Aww.
And I will tell you, she is a foster dog. I had to promise that I would not beg to keep her. And I keep telling myself if we find her a good home, that opens us up to have another foster and help more animals than just one.
So when I foster dogs, that is, people are like, how do you let them go? And it's like, because there's more out there to rescue.
Yeah.
Yep. And somebody wants this one. So, and you know, sometimes they don't always fit in the pack.
So people foster a dog or a cat.
Yeah. Foster an animal.
Yep.
Yep. Foster a chicken. Foster a rabbit. Whatever works for you. Plus, chickens are delicious. So if it doesn't work out.
You're terrible. Oh my God.
Oh.
All right. Whisperer's Corner. So this week, Eric, not a Nurse Kane from Forbes, called his review another terrible, boring episode. He really capped on the appearance of the hot air balloon.
Yes. He was like hyper focused on that. But, you know, I cannot disagree with most of the things that he said about this episode. Normally, I am on a completely different page than he is, but this review, I'm like, I can't argue with that.
It was pretty harsh.
Yeah, it was. I think it was overly harsh, but still made some good points.
So there was also a review that Forbes did written by Paul Tassi.
Paul Tassi.
And that one was pretty harsh, too.
I love the title. What on earth is Fear the Walking Dead doing in season 5? I agree, Paul.
I just have to say that our actors are not being given the best vehicle to display their talents.
No. We have 2 episodes left for season 5A, and I'm kind of ready to get this show on the road.
Well, you know, I was looking at Coleman Domingo this episode, and I was like, he's such a great actor, and it's really bumming me out to not see him get to use those skills.
Yeah, and like we said at the top, I'm disappointed at where they're taking Morgan.
Mm-hmm.
I still love Alicia, though.
Although they're making her a one-trick pony.
They are.
All right, so to get away from the reviewers, did you see the tweet that Ryan Hurst did this week?
No, I didn't.
Oh my God, it was hilarious. So AMC tweeted out a picture of Ross Marquand, and it said, "How can you not love this face?" And Ryan Hurst's response was, "Easy until I peel it off and wear it." And then Garrett Dillahunt said, "Still not doing enough yoga." Which is really funny because Ryan Hurst is a Kundalini yoga teacher and a vegan.
Oh, that's right.
Yes. So it was a funny little exchange on Twitter.
That's awesome.
In totally non-Walking Dead related news, can you please tell me why Zachary Quinto is wasting his time on Nosferatu?
I watched the first episode, maybe the first 2 episodes. Oh, no, it was just the first episode, but I think it was really long or something. Not what I expected. Have you been watching?
No, I catch a little bit of it and I'm like, this is not even interesting to me. And the guy who played Spock is wasting his time.
So it's very Twin Peaksy to me. Like, it is not Nosferatu, I just, yeah, it's at least the first episode. The first episode was very, very, yeah, Twin Peaksy. It was very weird.
I gotta tell you, I've got 4.5 seasons of Game of Thrones left, and Nosferatu doesn't even make the list.
Yeah, I kind of got caught up binging Stranger Things last weekend. So
I heard season 3 was quite good.
yeah,
I have never watched it. I've never been able to get into it, so
Oh,
I
that's
know
too bad.
I'm a heretic.
So Zachary Quinto actually has been on a couple of seasons of American Horror Story, and if he was going to be on any creepy show, I think he should have stuck with that one because I really liked him and all of his characters on that show. So go back. He can always go back. I
Right.
mean, it's an anthology, and if they kill your character, you can just come back next season as a different one.
Right.
But yeah, Nosferatu. I mean, I'll probably watch another episode just because I'm curious about where they're taking it, because episode 1 was not, well, no, weird.
Not even making my list.
I don't think it'll last long. Do you?
Well, I think they ticked off a lot of Walking Dead fans by sandwiching it between talking and walking, so they lost an audience right there.
Well, it kind of seems like the shows that come on after The Walking Dead, Preacher, Hell on Wheels, Into the Badlands, Nosferatu, they don't seem to have the staying power. They just don't click with the audience like The Walking Dead did.
Well, people don't want to be forced into watching something.
Yeah.
All right, back to Walking Dead related news. So Michael Cudlitz is running for the SAG-AFTRA board, and I knew SAG was Screen Actors Guild, so it's actually an amalgam of Screen Actors Guild and the American Federation of Television and Radio Artists. And what it is a union that represents about 160,000 people worldwide who are actors, journalists, radio personalities. So he is hoping to represent his craft.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's very cool.
Unfortunately, he's got a little bit of time on his hands since his series was canceled.
Oh, yeah, there is that.
Yeah.
I didn't watch, but it couldn't have really been any worse than Whiskey Cavalier.
You know, it actually got really good reviews. I didn't watch it either just because it wasn't on my radar, but it did get really good reviews.
Yeah. I feel like that one wasn't as hyped as well as other series are or have been. Like, people just would not shut up about Whiskey Cavalier before it came out. And I didn't even know Michael Cudlitz was on a new show. Like, I did, but it just dropped off my radar until he tweeted out him with Eugene on the set.
Oh, right.
Yeah. Josh McDermott. Josh.
Well, all I have to say is vote Michael Cudlitz Union Strong.
Yes.
Showing my little lefty side there.
Hey, I'm a member of a union, and I like it. It just got me a 3.75% raise for the first time in, 8 years.
That's pretty freaking amazing considering what's going on with the state of Alaska budget right now.
Right?
Yeah.
They got to do something to keep the employees they have, because
Yeah.
they're not taking on any new ones.
Scary, scary.
And
All
I
right.
work really super hard, so.
Yes, you do. You work way too many hours.
For an accountant. It's not like I'm a firefighter or anything.
You put out your own fires.
That's very true.
Yes, you do.
Oh, wow. I didn't even realize what I was saying until you said it.
Yeah. All right, more Walking Dead related news. So just a reminder to people that Pollyanna McIntosh's movie Darlin comes out this Friday.
I'm writing that down.
In America, it's going to be in some movie theaters and available as video on demand.
Oh, we will never get it in our theaters. We still haven't gotten The Dead Don't Die.
Oh, right. I haven't looked for it to see if it's come here or not. It fell off my radar because I was so disappointed that it didn't come here the opening weekend.
Right?
So another piece of news related to the Prime series. I posted this last week because Thomas O'Mara shared it, and I just want to bring it to people's attention again. So Kylie Szymanski, I hope I'm saying her name right, is the little girl who played Penny, the governor's daughter.
Mm-hmm.
And her mom just passed away from stage 4 lung cancer.
Mm.
So there was a GoFundMe set up for her family, and it had a very modest goal. They set a modest goal of $2,000. And I went on there tonight and made a donation on Biter's behalf, and it's only up to $1,200. So I'm just putting a plea out there to people who listen to us. I've shared it on our page. I know the Walking Dead family is really generous, and I know we can do better than that. So if you've got even just a couple of bucks to toss their way.
And even if you can't, share it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Share it to your own page. Get the word out.
Yeah.
There's always somebody who's been affected by cancer who will donate in your circle.
Yeah.
Yep.
So thanks to Thomas O'Mara for bringing it to our attention. And I just really want to say sincere condolences to Kylie and her family. That's a really terrible loss at a very young age.
Yes.
In happier news, I just want to remind people that Capes and Lunatics did a special last week about the last issue of the Walking Dead comic. So if people want to catch that, that's available on Capes and Lunatics.
Very spoilery.
Very spoilery. Be prepared. And then finally, because I've been forgetting to do listener feedback, I just kind of wrote myself a note here in Whisperer's Corner, and I wanted to say hey to Steve from Aim for the Head. He sent us a nice post on Biters, and I can't find it anywhere. I'm sorry, Steve. I went looking for it again tonight, and I just couldn't find it. So
it was a private message, wasn't it?
No, it wasn't. It was a message. And I actually looked in our mailbox to make sure it wasn't a private message, and I couldn't find it.
Okay.
So, hey to Steve. Thanks for listening to us, and thanks for the shout out. That's all I've got. It was not a particularly news-heavy week.
No, it was not. I think did he do it from the Aim for the Head podcast page or from his own?
I think it was from his private Facebook account.
Because when we posted our Return of the Living Dead episode, Aim for the Head it was Aim for the Head podcast who commented. Okay.
No, we've been having a nice back and forth with them, but I just wanted to call out Steve personally, so.
Nope, can't find it. Hi, Steve. Comment again.
And maybe Diane won't lose it this time. Jeez.
This Diane, not your Diane.
Right. Let's make sure we get the right Diana here. Oh, how funny.
So I have to tell you, after our last episode, I was finally inspired to do something that I said I was going to do.
Read a book.
I watched Velvet Buzzsaw.
Oh, how was it?
It was terrible. I loved it.
Oh! Now remind me, who was in... It was Sydney Lemon who was in Velvet Buzzsaw.
Yes,
okay.
Who plays Isabel from the last episode. Yeah, I couldn't have picked her out had I not known what character she was. The movie is, again, not what I don't know what I was expecting, but it's a horror movie. It's super artsy, and it is very... the bad guy is like kind of a bad spirit or ghost or something. So it's supernatural. It's not like, the movie Saw or anything. It's not a actual physical bad guy. He I think he inhabits his art is how it works. But yeah, it's super interesting. It's a interesting 2 hours if kind of that's what you're into, but Yeah. I finally watched Velvet Buzzsaw, and I did it because of Sydney Lemon.
I didn't watch it.
And I recommend that you read Hillbilly
Hillbilly Elegy.
Elegy. Thank you. Even looking at the word, I can't say it.
Yeah, that's going to be on my list before Velvet Buzzsaw.
Yeah.
All right. Goods, bads, and uglies?
Sure.
All right. Tell me you're good.
So I have to say there is a bad part in this, but it is my good. Because I have a question about the bad part. I really love Dwight. The whole still searching for Sherry. It's something that we talked about earlier in the season. One of my bads was Dwight wasn't in the episode or in the series yet, and he's been teased and teased and teased, and we haven't gotten him yet, and we finally got him, and he's on the hunt for Sherry, and I really think that he is gonna get some kind of closure. I hope for a happy ending for the guy. And in spite of what happened in this episode, I really think he's going to get some sort of closure because John Dory is on the case. Now, having said that, do you agree with what John did? I don't.
It's all my bad. So do you want me to talk about my bad now, or do you want?
No. We'll talk about your bad later. So I'm glad that it will come up because it bears a lot of discussion. So what was your good?
So my good was relatively small, and you actually mentioned it, but I really liked that June saw right through Al.
Mm-hmm.
June was very perceptive.
Did something happen out there?
Mm-hmm. I liked that she made that offer for Al to just open up to her off the record.
And she put it in Al's terms.
Mm-hmm. And I think it bonds those two characters in a way that they have not been bonded previously, which I really like.
Yeah. They were sort of kind of on each other's peripheral. They never really had much interaction beyond Al's interview.
Yeah. So, I mean, that wasn't a huge good, but I liked that moment, and I liked the perceptiveness of June.
Excellent. So, my bad was a quick bad, and I agree with the Forbes review of this episode in that some assembly required. How all of a sudden are we all plane mechanics at 10 years old?
I totally agree.
I have talked about my bug out vehicle, my 72 Jeep Commando, and that you can fix it with a crescent wrench and a flathead screwdriver. Now, I say you can fix it because I can't fix it. Like, this is one of the most simple piece of machineries that's on the road, and I could not fix a head gasket, let alone do whatever they were doing with the plane. And obviously they couldn't do it either because they didn't do it well. And we all saw that wobble way before and were screaming at the speed
Right.
to shut the engines down. But yeah, I was just like, really, a whole bunch of kids are going to put together this plane without so much as an instruction manual. Okay, sure.
It stretched credibility for me.
Yeah.
It absolutely stretched credibility for me.
Yes, and it has gotten a lot of flack online, and this is probably why they didn't do Talking Dead, is because they would have to talk about this stuff. So we'll talk about it instead.
Although, I heard someone on another podcast say today that they were really missing Talking Dead for that very reason, because it gave the actors a forum to kind of talk about their thought processes and decisions in a way that kind of talked us off the ledge.
Yeah, but I'm having a hard time imagine even the enthusiastic Chris Hardwick defending 10-year-old plane mechanics. I don't even think a 10-year-old could like fuel up a plane, let alone like assemble a wing.
Yeah,
So,
I there were so many places in this episode where I was like, was this the point where it became incredulous to me? Was this the point where I was no longer able to suspend my disbelief?
right?
And the our family of survivors as airplane mechanics definitely high up there on the list.
Yeah, if an alien spacecraft comes out of the sky next episode and saves us from nuclear meltdown, I would not be shocked. So what was your bad?
All right.
As if we don't already know.
The whole Sherry plotline.
Okay.
So I felt like it was a super lazy way for the writers to dismiss the whole Sherry plotline. I was really frustrated because I want an answer.
You think they're dismissing it?
I think they're totally dismissing it.
No, I think that like because John hid the letter, I think that Dwight's still going to be looking for him, and John is probably like now more than ever, in it to find Sherry. I think had he not found this letter and hid it from Dwight, he would have just been like, oh, good luck with finding your wife. I'm gonna head back to my group now and just let him go. But now he's gonna be like, I kind of gotta help this guy find his wife, no matter what. Right?
I don't know. I'm telling you, it just bummed me out.
So the thing that I'm having a hard time with, and I've said it before, why does she keep moving? I mean, even Dwight was like, oh, there's tons of supplies in this house, and there's food and all this stuff, and blah, blah, blah. And where does she keep moving to? Who's chasing her? Why is she, like, does she not want to be found and she's just stringing him along? I don't actually believe that, but I'm like, why does she keep moving? Stay still. Like, when you're lost in a grocery store, if you've lost the other person that you're with, eventually you just have to stop. And now you can call each other on cell phones, but you eventually just have to stop because you know that each of you is circling round and round and you're just missing each other. Right? Just stop.
The thing that bothers me is, why would she just give up all of a sudden?
Yes.
Why would she just be like, oh, I had to kill this man who almost killed me, and woe is me, I can no longer bear the strain of this world. Don't look for me anymore.
Yeah, like, I had to kill this guy who was going to kill me, so I'm going to stay put because there's some crazy people out there, right? Like, that would be my thought process.
Please come find me.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm just going to stick around in this general area, even with all of the radiation zombies and the crazy kids and the guys in black suits and helicopters. I'm just going to stick around here for a while and see what happens.
Yeah, I don't know. And so how do I feel about John lying to him?
Mm-hmm.
I think that it was really out of character for John. I don't like that he made that decision.
Right. It's going to come back to bite him. We all know it. Right? Like, Dwight's going to find out.
It is. And I think, and I can't remember honestly if this was in another podcast or a review that I read today, because I've read a whole bunch of stuff and I was listening to Walking Dead cast earlier today. But I think what's going to happen is they're going to get to a point where they actually have fixed the plane, which I have issues around that too. And then Dwight's going to be like, no, I'm not coming with you. I'm still looking for Sherry.
And then what does John do?
Right. And then John either says, okay, peace out, have a good time looking for Sherry, or, oh, well, I kind of have something else I need to tell you.
Yeah. Because he's not going to burn the letter. Right. Which is what any of us would do if we wanted to keep that secret.
Good to know. So if I ever get feedback from you that there is no letter, I'm going to look at you and say, where are the ashes?
Well, see, I'm saying that I wouldn't. I would be straight up with him. I'd be honest. I'd be like, look, dude, this is what she says in this letter, but I don't think we should stop looking for her. I will totally help you find this chick. I am a detective. We can do this. I'm with you, bro.
So the other thing that really bothered me about the whole Dwight-John pairing and John being the person who's kind of responsible for perpetrating this lie, it just seems so cruel coming from someone who has this wonderful relationship with June that kind of keeps getting rubbed in Dwight's face.
See, but I think that's probably why he did lie, is he doesn't want Dwight to give up.
Right.
You know?
He wants him to have hope. But
yes.
It's even more cruel.
Yes, I definitely agree with that. That he keeps talking about how it was when he was looking for June, and he eventually did find June, and everything's rosy, and Dwight's still stuck in the I gotta find Sherry stage.
Yeah, that was my bad. Just the whole Sherry plot line and how conveniently the writers dismissed her and kind of the trouble that's going to brew from all of it. Yeah, I have issues with the whole thing.
Do you think the chick that plays Sherry is like, dude, bring me back? Or is she like, no, I don't want to be on there?
So I heard that she was on another show, and I can't remember what show she's gone to. I would have to look at her IMDb.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, depending on what show she was on, maybe she's got great success. Maybe her part was really limited and she wants to be back on a Walking Dead property. I mean, gosh, even with a Walking Dead property that's struggling as much as this one is, it still is a good paycheck, I'm sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Good exposure. Because love it or hate it, people are talking about it.
Right. Including us.
Right. I don't hate it. I don't love it, but I don't hate it.
All right. So what was your ugly?
Hot air beer balloons. Beer loons. A beer loon.
I'm assuming it was a bad ugly.
Yeah. And not just because of the Forbes guy harping on that it looked like a blow up standee instead of a hot air balloon, but just the whole, again, with the all of a sudden we can pilot hot air balloons. We know how to inflate them. We have what it takes to inflate them, and it all still works. And we can pilot them in the direction that we want to, and we can crash land them without them exploding. Have you ever seen a hot air balloon crash land?
No, I never have.
So in New Mexico, every year there is a big hot air balloon festival.
Right.
And inevitably, about every 3 years, one goes down like the Hindenburg. And I am not even kidding. It could hit a power line, or it just catches fire because of operator error, or it's too windy and it gets blown into each other. Those are not as easy as they look. And I just find it unbelievable that we are all experts in everything nowadays.
Well, we're rock climbers. We are airplane mechanics.
We're pilots that can fly both helicopters and propeller airplanes.
And hot air balloons.
And hot air balloons. Yeah.
Yep. Although, so I have to say, and maybe this is me not watching critically, but I didn't think that I just didn't think that what am I looking for? That the effect was as bad as I thought it was, at least the first time around.
Okay.
So I was much more forgiving the first time I watched it, and then the second time I watched it was after I read the reviews that really capped on the effects, and I was like, ooh, maybe they're kind of bad after all.
See, and I went back and I rewatched, and the effects didn't actually bother me. Had I not known that, I guess maybe I've never examined a hot air balloon that close up and retained it before. Apparently, they have flaps that come down so that the hot air actually goes in the balloon instead of like just the flat bottom that the beer bottle had.
That was what I think it was one of the Forbes articles.
It was.
Yeah.
And so even knowing that, watching that part didn't bother me when I did my rewatch. It was just the whole, all of a sudden we're all experts in everything we need to be. I mean, are we in the Matrix? Can somebody just upload this stuff to our brain all of a sudden? It takes me out of it whenever all of a sudden, we're in a bind and we have the exact knowledge we need to.
Yeah.
So, I had a bad ugly. What was your ugly?
I had a bad ugly.
Oh.
So this was another one of those, is this where I lost my ability to suspend my disbelief?
Mm-hmm.
We got to talk about the whole nuclear plot line.
Okay.
Okay, so
You've done a deep dive.
I am going to be the first to admit that now that I have watched Chernobyl, read Midnight at Chernobyl, and I've almost finished Voices from Chernobyl, I must think I'm like a nuclear physicist or something.
Man, you were like a dog with a bone.
So, we now have, for sure, Grace, Morgan, Strand, and Charlie all in what would be referred to as the exclusion zone, the high radiation areas.
Mm-hmm.
They are kind of playing loose and fast with the rules of radiation exposure.
Okay,
I mean,
yeah.
Grace can do everything that she's done and she still looks fine, but those parents get exposed by walkers who came from the plant, not even to direct radiation like Grace has been because she's been in the plant.
In a painter's suit and rubber boots and duct tape.
Right?
Yeah,
So that's kind of bothering me.
So whenever I get an x-ray done at the dentist, they put this lead-lined vest over me.
That's because they want to shield your thyroid and your ovaries.
I'm kind of thinking like the plastic wrap stick is still kind of radioactive,
Right.
leaking. Yeah.
Well, and so here's another thing. The generator is the only thing that stands between us and the second meltdown of a reactor.
Right? So this little tiny Jenny that's powering a quick stop is going to save us all from nuclear meltdown.
And there's already been one reactor meltdown.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so then I started thinking about it. How realistic is it that we could have a nuclear disaster if we have an apocalypse where we've essentially lost all of our infrastructure?
Oh, it's a given, I think.
I read this great quote, and the quote is, and I wish I had written down where I got it from, nuclear reactors are designed to function in a world that has electricity. And the author went on to say that they require constant upkeep, they are very complex, and they're vulnerable to freak weather events and seismic shifts. So we basically have all of these power plants. Mind you, okay, here we go, deep dive again, right? There are 454 active nuclear power plants on the planet.
Do you know how many in the U.S.?
Yes. I wrote it down. Now I have to find it. I want to say it was like 104 in the U.S. There are currently 54 under construction.
Wow.
So, let's just ballpark it, okay? We've got 500 possible nuclear meltdowns in the face of the zombie apocalypse. So, why am I freaking out? Why am I not able to suspend my disbelief around this? I don't know. Maybe it's because it was badly timed and Chernobyl did come out the same time that this first half of Fear the Walking Dead premiered.
I think that's a big part of it. I think if we all weren't overnight nuclear physicists having watched Chernobyl, we would probably be able to suspend our disbelief a little bit more, but really a generator that's going to save us from nuclear meltdown.
Okay, and yes, I did find the number. It's 104 nuclear power plants in the U.S.
And it looks like
all of them have backup generators for cooling, but those backup generators have to have some source of fossil fuel. And they will run out if they are not resupplied.
Well, and they have to be cooled with water all the time,
Well,
right?
no, so the backup generators are for the cooling systems.
Okay.
So the cooling systems are what essentially keeps the nuclear reaction in check.
Okay.
That and oh my god, if you watch and read about Chernobyl, there are essentially graphite rods that help damp the
Right.
reaction as well. But if we're just talking about meltdowns in the face of a zombie apocalypse, essentially there would be no cooling system once those generators failed.
Right.
Okay, the other thing that I wanted to say, and then I promise I'll get off the cross. I read an MIT technology review, and they basically said that all things being equal, no zombie apocalypse, we have a 50% chance before 2050 of a Chernobyl or Fukushima scale event.
Wow.
So again, Morgan's little generator and Grace single-handedly trying to prevent the second meltdown in her region. I'm struggling with it. I know that the showrunners wanted to do a really cool radioactive zombie and they thought they would pull us all in that way, but you know, I'm 6 episodes in and I'm having a hard time with it.
So, most of the nuclear power plants in the US are east of the Mississippi. There is one in southern Washington, and I've seen that one actually up close. So, we're safely outside of the exclusion zone.
Well, except then it gets into the atmosphere and it gets spread all over the planet.
Right. But I mean, if you look at Chernobyl now, I mean, I guess they did build a big old dome over it. Things are thriving in that area. Same with Fukushima. I mean, yeah, the pigs are radioactive, but they're still pigs. You know, they don't have like 8 feet and 3 ears.
Okay, again, I'm sure the listeners are going to be like, get over it. Let it go. It's a TV show. But what I will point out is they had to build a second sarcophagus to go over the reactor at Chernobyl.
Yes, they did. And it will only last until 2070 or something, 2050.
And
I think it'll fail within my lifetime. They'll have to rebuild it within my lifetime. I know
and
that.
we still
Hopefully.
don't have accurate reads on the radiation that people were exposed to in that accident. So we still don't know what they're looking at in the exclusion zone.
But if you go to dogsofchernobyl.com, you can adopt a dog from the exclusion zone.
And that goes back to our whole message, which is please foster
an animal.
I knew you could bring it around and save me from the nuclear hole that I just dug myself into.
Oh, that reminds me of the way Bob Barker is into The Price is Right. Spay and neuter your pets. Oh, that's funny. Yeah, no, I totally agree. I'm ready for most of the plot lines this season to be wrapped up and to move on. I will say that the next episode actually looks like we get some excitement, so I'm hopeful for the future. I mean, not our future. We're going to all die in a nuclear meltdown, but
by 2050.
By 2050. I'll be 70. It'll be fine. Be like 15 years into retirement.
All right, so we're kind of in rotting potpourri now since I've ranted and raved about Chernobyl and my credentials as a nuclear physicist. So if you had to pick one plot line that you wanted to see continue into the second half of the season, what would you say?
Okay. And I'm a total hypocrite. Just saying that.
Don't tell me the nuclear plot line.
No, the kids. Like,
really?
after finding out what happened to all of the people that were, because that was one of the things I was like, how did all these people get nailed in there and they were still there, but they were all zombies? And why did somebody round up a bunch of zombies and put them in like, I was totally confused. Now I'm like, oh,
now the story makes a little more sense.
That makes so much more sense. And it's so tragic. Like her whole, like, we stayed there, normally the parents came back after a night or two and we stayed up all night crying. And I was like, oh my God, that's awful. Tell me more.
All right. So, but I have a question for you. And this is part of my writing potpourri. I don't get why Annie is so freaked out about trusting our group of survivors.
I don't either. So it's not as if our groups of survivors has done anything to, like, hurt them overtly. I mean, yeah, there was the whole propeller, but it's just because our group of adults are bumbling, but whatever. Yeah, I totally disagree, or I totally agree, other than she's super freaked out about Grace. So there is something about the people with the nuclear plant, or maybe it's CRM, or she's conflating the two, or maybe they are conflated. I don't know. But
or do you think it's just because she blames Grace for what happened to her parents?
Yeah, that,
I just don't think her motivations are clear.
No, I don't either. And I mean, the reasoning of a child, So,
okay, that's fair.
Yeah, I think that she's just, it's kind of like what Alicia said. She's like, no, I get it. Every day I think about the last thing my mother said to me. And the last thing that Annie's mother said to her was take care of your brothers. And so Annie is hyper focused on taking care of her brothers. And, that excludes adults. She has to take care of her brothers. It's like Smokey the Bear says, only you can prevent forest fires. Like, I take that very seriously. Like, only it's up to me.
Okay, so I have to admit that our survivors have not proven themselves particularly credible so far.
Yeah,
but what is it about Annie that makes her think she's more capable than a group of adults?
Right?
Who've survived this zombie apocalypse.
I'm looking at, like, these people are no Negan or saviors. They mean no harm. They may not, do very well, but they want to help. They're trying to help. They won't stop trying to help no matter how much I gripe about it.
They won't stop trying to help you, even if you don't want the help.
Right. And so I honestly think it's because Annie is just hyper focused on taking care of her brothers, and this is the only way she knows how. That's my only explanation. Maybe we would get more of an explanation if the storyline continues.
All right, I'm going to take us back to the plane repairs real quick.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure that parts are not interchangeable between different brands, makes, models of airplanes.
Me either.
I'm kind of struggling with that too.
Yeah, because I own a Toyota Corolla and a Toyota, I think, Tacoma. One of them.
I think you bought a Tundra, didn't you?
No? The smaller one. I have a Tacoma.
You got a Tacoma. Yeah. And
even those take different batteries, Even the headlights are different. Like, it's the same manufacturer. Yeah, it's two different vehicles, but they still take different parts. I don't think, these are swappable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They definitely don't look like the same kinds of planes.
No, not at all. So the one that they took the propellers off of looked like what we would call a puddle jumper here.
Mm-hmm. And the other one looked like a cargo plane. Exactly.
I mean, I'm no aeronautics specialist like I am a nuclear physicist, but yeah, just got to go with my gut on that one.
Look, I'm not an aeronautical engineer, but I did watch an episode of Fear the Walking Dead last night.
Right? And I stayed at a Holiday Inn.
All right, I
So,
will say something positive. So there were three really great lines in this episode. When Sarah is like under the propeller and she says, "That's oil, I hope."
yep.
And then
Two at her other line. Yep.
her "I work better with a 5 out of 10 buzz."
Oh, all three of them came from her then.
No, so the other one I was thinking of was when Alicia looked at Morgan after he puts the walker down with the new stick, and she says, "Oh, you fixed the mop."
That was good. So
what was the other one from Sarah?
Quit dicking around in the daisies.
Oh, that's like stirring up some beef, man.
Yes, yes.
So I have to say, of all of the pep talks, because again, there were a lot of pep talks, and I'm just going to list a few off. Alicia and Annie, Morgan and Grace, John and Dwight, Luciana and Dylan. Okay, I'm going to list them all off. June and Al, Strand and Sarah, Charlie and Strand. I liked the Strand and Sarah one the best, because Sarah was just basically like, get over yourself, Victor.
Morgan and everybody.
Morgan and everybody.
Yeah, when they were bringing in the plane, that even basically went to a voiceover where he was giving us a pep talk.
Oh.
Yeah, it's it's getting comical at this point. If I were even more of an alcoholic, I would have started a drinking game by now.
You know, I'm not sure how I thought I liked this episode so much better, because I'm finding that I'm having a really good time harshing on it.
And see, I'm liking it more because we're harshing
Oh my
on
god,
it.
that's so funny.
Oh no.
So a cool little tidbit. Did you figure out what was going on in the opening credits?
It was all of the zombies in the exclusion zone, right?
It was all of the zombies tied up in the gut fence that Alicia encounters.
Okay,
At least I think that's what. The bowel blockade.
Right. Oh, that's good.
That was John Dory's reference, not mine. He called it that a couple of episodes ago.
And I read this somewhere. This is not an original thought. It was either on like 2Fab, Den of Geek, one of the Forbes reviews. I can't remember. But they pointed out that this season started off with so much promise because it had so much menace. You know, we were building up to a big bad. There was the heads from trees and the bowel barricades or whatever, bowel blockades. And it had so much promise, and now it's like boiled down to just this mild threat, you know? And now, of course, we have the nuclear meltdown, but that's not like, you know, a governor or a Negan or a dirty woman or filthy woman or whatever. It's just, yeah, I feel like we've dropped the whole menace, you know?
And I heard again on another podcast the co-host talking about, I don't really know that I can spend the entire back half of the season watching them suddenly try to win the denim mill back from Matt Frewer's character.
Oh, see, that's what I'm hoping for. So,
really?
Yeah, I would love an epic Mad Max Headroom style back for the Levi's factory.
Well, you may get what you're wishing for.
Yeah. So the only thing that I can think of, and this is totally long shot spitballing, is okay. We can't keep the kids. I'm sorry, they're like foster dogs. You just have to let them go.
Because you can help more in the long run.
Exactly. Somebody else might actually want our help. So we can't keep the kids. Kids are gone. If we're not going to kill the kids, maybe we can leave the kids with the guy at the denim factory and we move on someplace else. Because, of course, we can't stay at the denim factory because no one can stay anywhere for longer than a season because then it gets boring. Or we have to have invaders like the Saviors. So maybe they leave the kids in the safety of the denim factory. Right? Maybe?
Well,
I don't know.
I think the kids have to die. Because I don't think that our our group of adults would leave the kids to fend for themselves, although I just had a thought. This is the way that the showrunners are going to get rid of Luciana. She's going to stay behind with the kids.
Oh, maybe. But Dylan's totally going to die.
Which will make her commit that much harder to the remaining children.
Exactly. Exactly. She totally has nerve damage in that arm. Like, she's going to have to settle down somewhere.
Oh, my God.
But yeah, I totally agree with I mean, that's actually one of the bad things about season 5A is there has been no major character death. Like you said, Grace still looks pretty healthy for someone who's on death's door. And, Luciana survived her mortal wound, and, Al was threatened with being shot in the head. And so we've had a lot of close calls, but nobody's died. Somebody's going to have to die season 5B.
They've got 2 episodes left to kill somebody off, and I think it's going to be Dylan. We're laughing about a child's death. Oh my God, we're horrible.
We are. But it's The Walking Dead. Children do not fare well in the zombie apocalypse.
So, I have a question I want to ask you about the balloon.
Okay.
Why on earth would they be hauling around a hot air balloon?
What do you mean?
Well, so Wendell and Sarah got all the stuff from Jimbo's brewery, and they've been hauling around this hot air balloon.
Until you said that, I did not get that. I was like, okay, I thought the roads were out. How did they go all the way back to Jimbo's brewery and in that amount of time? I was willing to suspend my disbelief on the travel time between here and Jimbo's brewery, but not the fact that we're hot air balloon experts. I didn't even realize they were hauling it around. I thought they went back for it, but you're right. They have been hauling around, unbeknownst to them, a hot air balloon.
Or apparently known to them, because when Charlie said something about, you got everything, Sarah's eyes lit up and she knew exactly what Charlie was talking about.
Well, Charlie held up the magazine cover with the balloon in the background.
Right, but Sarah knew that they had it.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know. Like, I guess maybe the hot air balloon material might come in handy for something someday, somewhere, for someone.
Is it like parachute material? Is it like silk?
Yeah, I believe so. I believe so, yeah. Or maybe they just trucked off everything that they could, not knowing exactly what it was, but like a light bulb went off as soon as it was in her face. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Just seems weird that they would be hauling a hot air balloon around.
Yeah, actually weirder than being able to go back to Jimbo's.
All right, I've got one more gripe about the nuclear plotline. So when Morgan was talking to Strand and Charlie on the walkie, he said, "Don't kill any walkers. You get their blood on you, you could die." But he doesn't tell them why, and he doesn't tell them what's really going on. I'm like, Morgan, could you be a little more vague, please?
So, having communicated with them a lot on the radio, did they give them the story about the irradiated zombies or I can't imagine that wouldn't come up in conversation over the radio.
If they knew it, I missed it.
Yeah.
But that wouldn't surprise me that I missed it.
Well, it could be just something that we have to assume that they told them about. There are these guys with a helicopter, and then there's this lady that's tracking down all the radioactive zombies, and we've got zombies tied together in roadblocks, and it's cray-cray here,
So stay on the other side.
Yeah, we're trying to get back to you. Don't come here. Yeah, so... Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, I have something good. Did you catch the Daryl reference?
Yes.
That was pretty cool.
Yeah. Nice callback for Dwight.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, for feeling like this was a really well-balanced episode with good pacing, I've sure had a lot of griping.
But it's kind of fun griping though. Like I actually enjoyed this more than I did the episode.
Yeah, I have to say that's true for me too. So I'm going to give us 4.57 Jerky Man Jerkies out of 5.
And I'm going to give us a 4.75 giant coasters for Marnell-sized beers.
Oh. So, next episode. Episode 7. What have we got in the works?
It looks kind of exciting. Did you watch the Next Time On?
I did not.
Yeah, it looks like we get a little bit of action next episode, but we also get Grace pounding on a generator like it's not working. So there is that.
I will not say anything else about nuclear power. I will not say anything else about nuclear power. Oh.
So the next episode is entitled Still Standing. So I guess the nuclear reactor's still standing.
Grace is still standing.
Strand and Charlie are still standing.
We're still standing.
John Dory's standing his ground. I'm not giving up that letter. So I actually went back and watched the episode where Madison died.
Just out of sheer glee?
So when Alicia said she thinks every day about her mother's last words to her, I was like, what were her last words? So it was when Madison had led all of the zombies into the baseball diamond because she knew that they had built up the wall so well that the zombies could never get in. So she knew it would hold them. They could never get out and everybody else could, run to safety. And so she had let them all in with the flare and she had a walkie-talkie and she was talking to the group and specifically her children, Nick and Alicia, over the walkie-talkie. And her last words were, I was afraid to lose this place because I thought you needed it to stay who you are right now. But it's no one's gone until they're gone. I think I wrote that down wrong, but no one's gone until they're gone.
I remember that. I remember that line. I wouldn't have remembered that as her last words, but
yeah. So, and I kind of feel that Alicia was thinking that in the moment. I was afraid to lose this place because I thought you needed it to stay who you are. And so I think she was thinking of Annie and the other kids, you need to come with us. You need to lose this place. You'll still be who you are. You'll still be Annie, protector of your brothers and all of the lost boys or whatever. But I think that's where Alicia was going with that. And so I actually went back and rewatched the episode. I think it's called No One's Gone.
I maintain that you watched it because Madison died.
I may have rewinded it several times.
Oh, God.
But it was just to get the quote, I swear. And I still wrote it down wrong.
Oh, my God.
I might have been distracted. Oh. So that's the last thing I had was just where I think Alicia's head was at, and that I'm proud of myself that I actually went back and rewatched that episode. I may do it again a couple of times before bed.
Oh, God. At least one specific scene.
Oh, I still maintain I have not seen a body. Like, it would not shock me to either have aliens land or Madison to come running up on a unicorn.
There are a lot of people who want Madison back who maintain that they did not see a body either, so you're in good company.
I mean, Strand has 9 lives, he's only got like 6 left, but, Madison's got like 8 left, so... It could happen.
It could. At this point, I'm not putting anything past Fear the Walking Dead.
No, and I'm a hypocrite. I could totally be on board with her coming back just to kick the series in the butt like they did with killing her. But no, I like her on Deadwood.
Yeah, but Deadwood's done.
Yeah, they did the movie,
Yeah.
but yeah.
All right. I guess we should probably wrap it up because I have to spring the husband so he can go attend to dogs that are not our dogs.
And a horse that probably needs her knee iced one more time tonight.
Right. So, I will say when horses do it, they do it big. So we actually we have a horse with a pulled tendon and we're icing her knee 4 times a day and giving her anti-inflammatories twice a day. And she's on stall rest, which she is not happy about.
And neither are the boys.
No, they lay in front of the stall.
Yeah, the other 2 horses are pretty upset that she's locked away.
I imagine if they could weep and moan, they would weep and moan.
I maintain that she is faking it to get ice in the 90-degree Alaskan weather.
Right? You didn't see her laying on the ground with her tongue sticking out. I thought she was going to die. It was horrible. Oh my God.
That is awful.
I'm telling you, if there are any biters out there who have horses, you know what I'm saying. When a horse does it, they do it big.
Yep.
Everything looks fatal.
All right, everybody.
All right. I'm going to go ice a horse's knee and
upload an episode.
You'll get this, what do we want to call this? It's not really a love fest.
American tragedy?
You'll get this American tragedy tonight.
And I will post the amazing YouTube video that Ethan Seuss did.
Very good.
And go and donate to Penny's GoFundMe.
Yeah, please donate to Kylie's family. Yeah.
Or share it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But until then, just remember, take it one dead day at a time. Have a good week, everybody.
Good night, everybody. Bye. Bye.